He's tried it.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Village of Mount Pleasant Plan Commission for August 20th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Meyer.
Here.
Risler.
Here.
Washburn.
Here.
Bhatia.
Here.
Basil. Driver.
Here. Next on the agenda would be the approval of the meeting minutes from July 23rd, 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the July 23rd, 2025 Planning Commission meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? I will be abstaining as I was not here.
As will I.
Okay.
I wasn't here either, so.
All right, so 2 abstentions. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, under new business, approval of SN 2511 multi-tenant project sign application for 7111 Washington Avenue. I guess Robin?
Howdy. All right. This one is about as up and down as easy as they come. The applicant applied on behalf of the owner, this is the Delta Marriott Hotel next to Case High School, for a project sign exception to the sign code. So I review all the sign permits. This sign is a 11 foot, 2 inches tall. The limit is 10 feet tall. However, when there's a case of multiple commercial tenants wanting to share signage, they can combine some of their allowances together to have a larger sign. We have examples of that with many of our shopping centers. And as they have multiple businesses on the same property, they are eligible for it. And it's also just a small increase in height. And this goes in front of the Plan Commission and is approved and is done. So we recommend approval of this because it meets all the conditions for why we have this carve out in the zoning code. Any questions?
Questions?
No, I like the sign. I think it's a nice looking sign. I think that it has a height, it goes over on the height, so I know that's what we'll be partially approving as well. But I like the consolidated sign, and I think that within that Delta Hotel complex, there's a number of businesses that I really honestly wasn't even aware of, and I think that it's, gonna be a good consolidation along that route and a pleasant looking sign, so.
Does this impact any signage on the buildings themselves?
No, this is only for, although you can't, I guess you could technically use this provision for on-building signage, but it's not designed for it. It's mostly designed for a monument, a multi-tenant monument sign out front. So you get additional height and potentially square feet. I'm looking to clean up it because I think it could be a little clearer as far as how it's worded, but this is the intent.
In other words, though, I think maybe, Joe, where you're coming from, it doesn't require them to take down signs that are on the building. Is that what you were?
What's that?
Oh, it doesn't need, they're not adjusting anything on the on-building signage.
Okay.
They already have that approved and ready to go.
So it's not in conjunction with the limit on the sign, the size of the sign in the buildings either then?
Yeah.
Okay. That's where I was going with it.
There's no further questions?
I move that we approve SN 25-11 for the multi-tenant project sign for 7111 Washington Avenue.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Starting off with the exciting stuff.
Yes. Next will be recommendation of ordinance 12-2025, parking area layout and design zoning text amendment.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, the Board of Appeals received multiple zoning variance applications for parking area layout and design in 2025. We also discussed this at last month's Plan Commission. The variance is asked for relief from the mandatory parking area layout and design requirements listed within section 90-420.100. The Board of Appeals approved both variances. When the Board of Appeals receives multiple similar petitions, the village staff typically bring forward zoning text amendments to reduce the need for variances in the future. The proposed changes expand the alternative dimension allowances for parking area design, which were formerly related only to truck parking. Under the expanded allowances, an applicant may apply for different parking stall dimensions if, number one, professional engineer submits plans and a narrative describing the necessity of different dimensions. Two, the approval body determines the alternative plans meet health, safety, and welfare objectives, depending on the type of application. That could either be staff or the plan commission. It depends on if it's residential, commercial, the size of the changes, et cetera. Number three, the alternative dimensions modify the listed standard by 10% or less. Number four, the alternative design maintains the allowable ratios of compact spaces, so they can't use this as a modification to only provide compact spaces as a cost-saving measure. This is really intended for larger parking spaces. Number five, any increase in impervious surfaces and pavement is treated via bioswales, rain gardens, or permeable pavers. So if they're looking for a lot of large parking, say a farm supply store comes in and they expect a bunch of people with F-250s and they design all their parking stalls to that size, logically the parking lot would be bigger than we would otherwise allow. So that marginal increase in size requires additional stormwater detention because it's additional pavement. So we're just asking that they detain that via some green stormwater features. And those are also able to be double counted towards their landscaping and screening requirements. So we try to encourage those as site. Best example close by is right out the window here where we have a little bioswale and it looks great. So we're trying to encourage those. It's kind of a win. You put in a bunch of these bigger things, your site should also kind of look comparatively nicer. And then number six, very large truck parking requires additional landscaping and taxable buildings on the property. So this was one of our existing requirements and we kind of used this to fold in the rest of it. But if you're coming in with a truck parking lot, typically those are very low taxable value situations. The Plan Commission has tried to limit just trailer parking lots in the past. So one of the ways that we previously pushed back against those was requiring a building that takes up 10% of the total lot coverage. So you can't just do only trailer parking for new lots. You have to add some like taxable value to the parcel. What we did is further increase that for if someone's proposing that within an active tax increment district, they actually need to cover 35% of the lot with a taxable structure, which is pretty similar. We used some of the industrial business park development out near 20 in the interstate to make that coverage ratio. So it's right in line. It's not going to prohibit those or mess with people who are looking to do warehousing, but particularly in active tax increment districts, we don't want just trailer parking with nothing else. So we got even more strict on that. The village staff believe these modified ordinances will permit greater flexibility in parking design while maintaining the high-quality landscaping, screening, and taxable value goals previously set by the Plan Commission and the Village Board. And with that, we recommend approval of the attached ordinance. I can answer any other questions you have.
Is that office standard 10% plus or minus, or just plus?
It is 10% plus or minus, but that's why we maintain that kicker of you're allowed to do compact spaces, but you can only have a specific percentage of them as part of the total parking area.
Okay, thanks.
In terms of your approval bodies, I assume, you mentioned staff and the Plan Commission, but I assume you're including the fire department. Typically, I would be more worried that they can get in and out and make the turns they need to. I would assume they would be one of the reviewing.
Yeah, particularly for new buildings. They might not review like an existing modification of a standing parking lot, depending on how they're modifying it. But that would be relatively minor change. For any major type change where it's a significant reconstruction or something. Both them and Public Works typically have eyes on those applications as well.
Thank you.
And of course, any of the stormwater features that we've identified in here, that's just our zoning requirement, that those are the features they use. The Public Works Department will obviously review any of those for compliance with engineering standards as well. So we're just saying you have to use a bioswale or a rain garden. Then they'll have to do all the calcs, provide them to Public Works, and they'll validate them.
Thank you.
No question.
No further questions? And be looking for a
Rob?
motion.
No? Oh, I'll make a motion then to approve recommendation to the Board of Ordinance 12-2025, Section 90-420.100, which is the parking area layout and design zoning text amendment.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any public comment on this? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next will be recommendation of South Green Bay Road preliminary plat PSP 25-001.
I think the way these applications fell, it's gonna be Sam, Robin, Sam, Robin, Sam, Robin. Sorry about that. So this is Sanctuary Pike River preliminary plat, PSP 25001. Basically, we've seen this one a couple times now. This one has been sent back to the Planning Commission from the village board as it has done a significant change. So let me kind of look over that. So the current revision is a 96 lot subdivision, and the developers indicated that those 96 lots will be for sale, single family lots. The developers also brought on a home builder, Lennar, in order to basically take the project from here and complete out those lots. I'm sure that those of you in the real estate business have heard of them. They're a large home builder based in the Chicagoland area. So we're getting a lot of those first with the one at the Bear development and now this one. So what is different? Let me move it a little bit over. So the layout generally is a little different, whereas the former one was more vertically oriented. This one has more horizontal blocks. It doesn't fundamentally change it too much. The lots range in size from 55 to 70 feet. And the connections are there as had been recommended at the Plan Commission beforehand. So we had done a long conversation about not requiring the connection northwards to Biscayne Avenue. And both the Village Board and Plan Commission recommended that could be ignored or moved past. And all of the other aspects of the comp plan, the connectivity to Brown Road, to Old Green Bay Road, and to the Hillside and Little Timber, or Little Prairie, it always flips back and forth. We're gonna need to work that out. Those connections are all maintained. So that is the major change. I believe that the developer and the home builder are all here if you have any questions on that, which I'm sure you do. There was a traffic study conducted since the last time you guys have reviewed this as well. That was at the behest of the Village Board. They can speak to that a little bit more. That traffic study was initially conducted at the former layout, but it also can apply to this one because it's not fundamentally changed that much. Furthermore, as the overall subdivision has dropped below 100 lots, our ordinance wouldn't actually require a traffic study in the first place if they had first proposed this from the get-go. So that kind of gives you an idea of what is necessary. So any questions of me?
Mr. Chair, if I could, I just wanted to add a little bit of color. Trustee Doxy had some questions before the meeting, and I thought I'd address them all with you just so everyone has the same information. There was some question on the park and open space plan designation for the property, so we included it in our packet, but I just don't want to also read it for the record, so if we need to discuss it. The park and open space plan for the Village of Mount Pleasant 2050 identifies this area as a priority protection area under the Pike River Watershed Plan. Per page 47 of the park and open space plan, the Pike River Watershed Plan also includes recommendations for improving water quality and managing stormwater through such measures as establishing stream buffers, restoring wetlands, naturalizing detention basins, and managing agricultural practices to reduce soil and pollutant runoff. The Park and Open Space Plan does not identify any acreage within the subject parcel for permanent public ownership or protection. Additionally, the transportation, we talked about transportation element. So what we did with that recommendation then is include and bold in one of the first condition for approval is following approval of the preliminary plat and prior to approval of the final plat, stormwater and sedimentation control plans and specifications shall be submitted for review and approval in accordance with Village Stormwater Management and Erosion and Sedimentation Control Ordinance per section 74-46 of the ordinance. Per the recommendations in the Pike River Watershed Plan, these stormwater management and erosion and sedimentation controls should include native landscaping, restore wetlands where possible, and include naturalized stormwater detention facilities. So just wanted to call attention to that. That's a requirement that we're putting on them for their engineering between approval of this preliminary plat and bringing the final plat back to the Plan Commission and Village Board for approval, you know, sometime this winter if they continue to march forward. But that has been a question that came up at a couple of the public meetings as well. So I wanted to highlight that and make sure you're all aware that we did address that, include it in a condition.
Oh, yeah. I just had thought of a couple of other things. One is I have been contacted recently about some potential either encroachments or a slight dispute over the lot line placements between the lots along the 6 properties along Brown Road currently and the southernmost edge of this preliminary plat. The preliminary plat boundaries go through some of the buildings that are whose footprint is marked on there. The surveyor has been made aware, that has been notated on a previous survey, and that they'll work that out. Ultimately, that is between those two parties as far as working that out. If those have been there and they haven't been a part of that lot line, they've been there for over 30 years. So, you know, that's just something that happens in these kind of things. A couple of other notes as far as the conditions. 2 of the lots, 53 and 54, need to be amended to be at least 55 feet wide. These are kind of wedge/pie shaped ones on some curvature. So they just come up a little bit short. So they need to be amended, or an administrative adjustment needs to be applied for. Then the subdivider needs to update the plat to include 20-foot vision triangles as well as public street lamps and street trees. And we also, our other recommendation is that we've reviewed some of the language in the covenants and feel that some of it can be conformed a little bit more toward Mount Pleasant Code, especially for legal reasons. This is going to come up again later, but defining a lot and an owner as a single family lot off the bat. If Mount Pleasant doesn't have regulations about 1 or 2 families, you don't want somebody to basically get out of the obligations of the homeownership association by building a mother-in-law suite, and all of a sudden now they don't have to pay dues or anything like that anymore. So the problem is not that they mention single-family units or anything like that. It's that they tie that to the definition of who is in the HOA. So it's just, we recommend to clean that up and be more clear that it's the lot that is the HOA member, and that is what that is.
Yes, Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had quite a few questions, but I think a few of them have already been answered. One was about the traffic analysis. And Robin, thank you. And Sam also addressed the concern by Trustee Doxey. which I'm pleased to hear, and I like those conditions. I guess one of my questions is, as you invite the comment from, if there's any comment from the audience, does trustee Doxey have anything else in addition to weighing on that?
No, at this time I don't.
Okay.
He needs to go up to the mic. No, he needs to go up to the mic. Chair.
Okay.
After discussing this with Sam and actually talking to Ann, I have, what I'm seeing right now, what I'm hearing, I feel like we're on the right path with this.
Yeah.
If it's gonna be developed, then this sounds like it's gonna be the right path.
Yeah, and again, I appreciate that Sam took the lead to, clarify it, but I wanted to make sure that I don't have any doubt, because that has been the number one issue, at least in my mind, that how does it fit into our comprehensive plan? So I'm okay with that, and my, I guess, next question is, and to the builder, I am very pleased to see that you're moving in the right direction. You have reduced the number of lots by 10 or so, and looking at this map which we have on the screen, it looks like that we only have now a single-family home, correct? Yeah, just want to confirm.
Yep.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions for the staff?
For staff. I guess this is, I guess I have not a question potentially, and maybe it's more of a comment for staff. I don't have a problem with them putting single family in their restrictive covenants. And I understand, though, the concern over further definition, though, within that document in regards to what if somebody builds an in-law suite or a second home on their property, which is allowable under our code. And I think it's, when we define it as one lot, then with two houses on it, two residences on it, then I think the developer needs to think about how you want to actually craft that paragraph, because and again, I haven't read the whole document again, but I would assume you're now giving 1/96 or whatever the percentage is interest of the ponds back to each lot owner. So then, is that correct? Or you're not deeding it to the HOA, the outlots? You're not deeding them to the HOA, are you?
Well, excuse me for a moment. If you could come up to the microphone, identify yourself.
I just
And I
wanted to.
guess this is to staff.
Yeah,
More importantly, and I will be happy to talk to the developer.
Yeah.
But I don't have a problem with that, and I think that's something the neighborhood wanted to see. Was that these would be restricted to single-family homes, so I don't have a problem with it at all. It's a matter of the rest of the document being proper.
So I just want to clarify, this is an extremely legalese tightrope that I'm trying to spin out here. It's not the fact that they have an architectural control standard limiting each lot to one unit. That is perfectly in bounds and appropriate and all over the place. And also enforceable through those standards. The issue is that when you tie that definition also into who is a member of the HOA, that leaves an avenue that somebody could remove themselves from the HOA by building an additional unit. So,
Agreed, and I think that's why they need to look harder at the language in order to make sure that if somebody adds a second resident, the problem, well, and again, it goes back to, they think they're gonna dedicate the ponds to the HOA, but that is not acceptable to the village board. The village board will want to see that the 196 or whatever the lot count is, % of each lot interest goes to each lot owner. And therefore, we are not gonna let these HOAs take over ponds and own them when we know that HOAs in perpetuity have issues. And we're not gonna get this back in ad rem, we're not gonna, as a village, get it back to maintain it. So that's something I mentioned in your last round, and if you didn't change that, I will be looking for it again, and I will not support the final approval until I see that document written the way I think it should be.
for another clarification, the covenants are completely different from what they were before. I believe that this was written by the legal team from Lennar, and it was very lawyerly. I had actually trouble churning through some of it because not a lawyer. So, but
That's all right. Illinois attorneys are pretty good.
yeah, I mean, it was good. That was the only thing I could kind of discern. So, yep, I think I can yield the floor to any questions you have of the developer and architecture team, engineering team. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may, I'd like to add to trustee Washburn's comments, and I echo them. I guess where Robin says, yes, the covenants have been revised, I think.
We haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, is that before it comes back to, us as the village board for the approval, if not all the covenants, I like to see, the reference, these relevant
Yeah.
covenants brought to the village board, put that on the screen so that, like the old saying say, trust but verify. I like to verify that.
And again, I will be happy to keep everyone in mind that this is the preliminary plat. And typically, we are not required to force the developer to provide the restrictive covenants to us under preliminary plat. You had submitted a final before where you did provide those. So we obviously will be looking for those at any final plat approval, but under preliminary, it's not a total requirement.
We do require them now. That's a recent change, just so that we can review them and get these issues out of the way up front rather than at the end, so that they have time to work on it. It's just a kind of a precautionary measure. And we found that that's been okay. We also have them available, and we can provide it to the village board. It's just like with stormwater management plans. I mean, your packet was already 337 pages long. Each one of these is another 25 pages or so.
Yeah, well, I read all 316 pages, Robin, so, I guess that, what, you throw pages at us, we're gonna read it. I'm gonna read it, so I can assure you.
Okay, well, I can also probably do something about, in the packet, have other documents that are available on request, or give a link or something like that, so that you can still have access to them. It's just, I don't know, I need to save a tree here and there, so.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't get mine printed.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Robin.
At this time, would the applicant like to address the commission?
This is the kid that tried to buy that group across the high school.
Hello, my name is Reed Bianucci. I'm a land acquisition manager at Lennar. So yeah, I mean, we're looking to do the 96 single-family homes here. Just a kind of brief overview of Lennar. We're operating currently the Chicago division about in 50 communities right now between Wisconsin, Illinois, and the Northwest Indiana area. Our goal here really is to sell the homes and get them moving. We have our own mortgage company that we use. So the interest rates being high as they are right now, we're able to buy those down for people to get people in the homes and make that payment affordable. So that's kind of one thing here that I wanted to stress, is that the development won't be going on for years and years, where sometimes you see it's sitting and vacant. It will be completed, I feel, in a fairly timely manner. Our goal is to sell the homes and to get them moving. So just wanted to get that across. And yeah, I mean, just keeping the same character as the neighborhood kind of around it, and we're excited about this development. So it's really all from me.
Any questions?
Sure. Thank you for coming. I guess not being that familiar with your company, do you, for the board anyway, would you be able to bring us any illustrations of your current developments? And again, in those restrictive covenants, I'd be looking for home sizes and architectural control, what kind of materials you're gonna require on the outside. We don't necessarily regulate those, but it would be nice to see what you're going to be providing to your customers. Are you a spec builder? Is it custom homes, or?
We're a spec builder, yes.
So you're gonna come in and build it out?
Yes, and yeah, we can provide what we've done in other communities as well.
Just, I think the board, when you're coming in from out of state, we like to know what are you doing in other areas, and I think that's fair.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. you know, we didn't think it was appropriate to bring our product in here today, but as far as the
Plan
declarations go, we do have local council review the declarations, and we'll work with staff to make sure we work within the codes of the community as well. Like Reed said, we are working in not just Illinois, Wisconsin, Madison area. We have 4 communities that we're working on over there. So down to Indiana. We do about 2,000 homes a year in the market. So as far as the product goes, typically 4 to 6 home models, ranch, 2-story homes. I think ranging in the square footage range of about 1,400 to 2,600 square feet. 2-car garages, 3 to 4 bedrooms. So the products will make sure they conform with the building requirements. And I think you've read the draft covenants. It does address architectural control committee and so forth like that.
Yeah, we didn't get the draft covenants, did we, Sam?
No.
That's why you're assuming we've seen something we haven't. We saw the old ones from the original,
I'm not sure what happened then, I'm sorry.
yeah.
We just didn't include them in the packet, but we'll make sure that you can all see them. Yep.
Yeah.
They all looked good except for that one clarification, so we had no other issues with them. Section
Yeah, that's why I
70.
was a little surprised at the comments, because I think we had local council review it. And I wasn't sure about the whole ownership and HOA ownership, but we'll investigate and work
Yeah.
with
I think you'll
staff on
find that every other subdivision we've approved in the village, the covenants are set up that way, so that each lot owner retains a percentage interest. And for the older subdivisions that don't have those covenants set up that way, the ponds have gone to hell, nobody's managing them, the HOAs are gone, and we've had to come in and step in. So that's the old way of doing it, that's been gone for years. Mr. Chairman, am I not
Yeah,
correct in that?
You are
So-
correct, yes.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, thank
If we
you.
could just get your name and address for the record.
I'm sorry, Rick Murphy, 1700 East Gulf Road, Suite 1100, Schaumburg, Illinois, 60173.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I just have a question for the developer's engineer. Sorry, Mark. You only thought you were gonna get away with it. And I think that you'll find this is pertinent also to Mr. Doxey's concern. And it's not a difficult question. I'm not, I think they've done a great job with revising the plan. Very happy to see it's gonna be a single-family development. And I think in regards to Mr. Doxey's, Trustee Doxey's bringing forward again the comments from the Root Pike Wind study that was done. Again, a reminder to people in the audience that study was advisory and it was not adopted by the village, and so it's advisory. And I know, Mark, you're very well aware of it. One of the things that was on their title for this property was an easement for drain tiles and drain tile connectivity. And I think because of the Root Pike Wind study, because of the soils I see on the soil maps for this, and I see you've now enlarged that whole wetland and stormwater complex to almost 9 acres, that's gotta be significant. Can you tell me if the developer or you have done any research into those tiles? And, again, there could be a lot of them, a big system running through there, and the developer, if there's no map of that, then has the developer thought of mapping it? Because there are companies that will come up and find those tiles and map them. So drain tiles is, what's the status with knowledge on them?
Yeah, so a drain tile delineation has not been done to date. We also need to do soil borings and geotechnical engineering on the project, which has not been done to date here. Developers well aware that those are the next steps here, and we are well aware that there are tiles on the property here. So again, getting through this step and the next step here with board approval will really set us in motion to start investigating those
To go and do
those
those.
items.
Yeah, okay, I think that's gonna be really important to your stormwater management plan, but I'm looking forward to seeing the results of that. So thank you. That was my question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Any other questions or comments, concerns?
No, I don't have a question, but again, I want to reiterate, I think the key here is all the discussion is that we maintain the neighborhood, the preservation of the land on the north and so forth, that's, I want to again emphasize that it's not only for the neighboring, the subdivision, but also for the nature of the protection that we need for the preservation of the land. And like my colleague said here, we will be looking for that when these plats come to us for review and at the village board. I want to again emphasize that to me would be the number one thing that I will be looking for.
Okay, good. So I think staff has acknowledged that. All right. If there's no further questions,
So, Mr. President, or not Mr. President, Chairman Davis, Driver, I would like to make a motion. I'm gonna make a motion to recommend approval of the South Green Bay Road preliminary plat, PSP 25-0001. And subject to all of the conditions that are outlined in the summary by staff, meaning the approval of the plat, following the approval of the plat per the recommendations in the Pike River watershed, the managed stormwater management and erosion and sediment controls shall include native landscaping, restore wetlands where possible, and include naturalized stormwater detention facilities. The updating of the plat to show lots 53 and 54 to be at least 50 feet wide, or apply for the administrative adjustment. That adjustment's probably easier. And then the vision triangle updates, update the on-site civil engineering to show the installation of public street lamps at the corners per section 74-8.13 of the code. Updating the civil engineering infrastructure plans to show the planted trees and the definition that follows in our summary based on section 74-8.15 parens A. And I would also add to that I don't have a problem and would approve the subdivider varying from the comprehensive plan for the roadways, because we agreed based on the neighborhood and so forth that Biscayne did not need to go through, and it would be better protection for the wetlands and the watershed. Is that appropriate for the motion?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, that's all I've got.
Second.
second to that motion, all right? Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any public comment on this? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Next on the agenda, recommendation of Yates Drive Final Plat SFP 25-0001.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the applicant applied to divide the property into 103 lots. Is that correct, Dan? Sorry, I put 123, that's just a typo. It's 103 lots as part of this phase, which is the second phase of the Pike River Crossing development. The plat includes opportunities for small lot detached housing and fee simple twin houses. The village board approved a development agreement with Bragg Pike River LLC that contemplated this development in the approved phasing. Homes in the first phase of the development are actively under construction. The village staff have received multiple reports from new owners happy with the additional housing choice provided by this subdivision layout. Specifically in the small lot single family, we hear that twin homes are going pretty well. People like just owning their side. So, you know, we wanted to highlight that because Mount Pleasant was out ahead in adopting some of these zoning ordinances, and the feedback on one of the first subdivisions to utilize those flexibilities has been largely positive. So it's been nice to see people be able to either downsize or find the unit that's right for them and their family at this time. So I know Robin took a look out at, they have a model unit out there too. So if you're curious, you can just go walk through the model unit and they look pretty nice inside. So I'd encourage it if you haven't. For this second phase, the village staff recommends that the Plan Commission move to recommend approval of the subdivision plat. The application follows the land use element of the multi-jurisdictional comp plan, and neither the bike plan nor the park and open space plan contain any recommendations for this chunk of the subject property. We have a couple conditions on there that I'll get into in a sec, and they're mostly cleanup items on the civil plans. From a fiscal impact standpoint, you can see our estimates in there. The estimated net value per acre is about $1.5 million per acre. The total revenue to cost ratio is 3-to-1, and the private to public ratio is 29-to-1. The current value for the property is ag assessed, so it's $19,400. The development agreement estimated all phases of the project would have an improvement value of about $85 million. While TID 7 is open, the development is entitled to a municipal revenue obligation of $22,931,233, which includes interest. This revenue obligation is primarily intended to reimburse the developer for their upfront cost of installing the public improvements for the property, including the southwards extension of Yates Drive and primarily the westward extension of Oaks Road, which is a large village collector street. The developer, as part of their first phase, had to install the improvements to 31 and all the intersection improvements that you use when you drive into the development now. Upon TID closure and normalized tax collections, the phase is expected to generate net revenue of approximately $180,000 per year, accounting for both public infrastructure and service cost projections. The few conditions that we have are, one, the applicant shall update the plat to name Road 6, so it just has an official name. The subdivider shall install public street lamps at the corners and update the plat to show some street trees. That's it. Pretty clear-cut second phase on this one.
Yep.
Happy to answer any questions you have. Other than that, the developer's here, and Dan can answer any questions you have for him.
Any questions for? I do.
In regards to adding the 103 lots, is there any provisions in there for any more ingress or egress? Because Yates is not going through yet down to KR, correct? Or 195, excuse me.
There's not, but there are 2 points of ingress and egress. So there's the Oaks Road one at the north, and then there is the right in, right out for, what is that, Village something Drive or something like that. Pike River Drive, I think. So there are 2 points of ingress and egress. Right now, if you drive in, that southern right in, right out is a little underutilized because most of the homes are north, closer to Oaks. But as part of the first phase, they did install that. The last phase will be probably the smallest in terms of land area, so they'll connect through Yates as part of the third and final phase.
Okay.
But it looks like they're platting that as part of this.
They actually
plat.
platted it as part of the first phase. DOT would only grant them approval for the Oaks Road connection if they platted the connection down to the south.
Oh, okay.
So it is there.
It's
It's
platted.
just phased in its construction.
Just a comment, if I might, Chairman. One of the things about this that you mentioned, Sam, in terms of this is really the first time that we've seen successfully, or we've seen a developer use our code to its ultimate. But in going back to my previous conversation with the previous developer on restrictive covenants, I've read all of the Pike River Crossing restrictive covenants, and my concern all along with our 2-unit individual lots zoning code, that portion of it was the long-term maintenance of the buildings, because each owner was only gonna own half. And so that's where Bear Development has done a phenomenal job of creating a complicated and complex set of restrictive covenants. I don't know if you've had a chance to read them, but they integrate all of those concerns. There's homeowner associations for just the pods, and then there's overall, contribution to stormwater management ponds and so forth, and then the townhomes have their own unique set that covers long-term maintenance for the buildings and so forth, so that there's reserves being set up and its chances long-term of remaining a stellar community are set in stone by those restrictions. So that's really why we typically sit back and say, we don't care about restrictive covenants. That's not our genre, but it is under this code and under this type of a project. They really are important, and that's why it's going to be so successful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it was a fun learning experience working through those with them and, making sure we accounted for those different unit types. So Bear's been a good partner and willing to, we appreciate any developer that's willing to kind of read and take advantage of some of the things that we've been talking about for 7 years now. So this is great.
I have a question. Have there been multiple units being purchased by a single entity for rental?
I'm not aware of any of that happening, but we don't monitor each
No,
individual
maybe
sale.
that's a
So that's
question.
probably more of a question for the developer.
Yeah. I'm interested in that, what the character of the neighborhood will be, as renters versus as homeowners.
Ultimately, the village can't really regulate that per state statute, so we tend to back away from those, but the builder can answer that question, or if you'd like us to investigate it, we can certainly ask.
Just if the builder could answer that question, I'd appreciate it.
I should say developer, not the home builder themselves, but yeah. Any other questions for me?
Good to go.
Dan Shop, Bear Development, 4011 80th Street, Kenosha, Wisconsin. I'd like to answer that for you, but I'm unaware. As we've transferred lots to a builder, and the builder has transferred lots to individual buyers, I'm not sure if any sales have occurred where there's multiple, if there's one buyer for multiple properties. I doubt it. That's not the business that the builder's in. But if I can look into it for you, if that would help.
Dan, do you?
If it's not it's not anything we can regulate, but I'm always concerned about the complexion of new developments and how they end up 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
Yeah, and the development is fairly new, so I don't think the builders are at a point of really worrying about sales yet.
Yeah.
They're doing quite well out there. Velocity is good. So I'm guessing here, but I don't think that's happening.
Okay, thank you.
As a backup to that, Dan, do you know what the price ranges are for the townhomes?
I haven't kept track of it.
Are they over 4?
I believe they are.
So it's highly unlikely over 400,000 is my point, that you're gonna see anybody swoop in and buy 4 or 5 of them as a rental property. I think those are pretty well set for home ownership, Larry, if that's helpful to you.
Yeah,
So,
that would be helpful. I was not aware of what the price points.
All right, any further questions for Dan? Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Any further questions for anyone here?
no, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a recommendation of approval of the Yates Drive Final Plat SFP 25-001.
Second.
0001,
0001 second.
Motion and second, any further discussion?
subject to the conditions as listed by staff.
Any public comment on this? Hearing none, I'll call a question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next will be recommendation of 702 South Newman Road, Certified Survey Map, CSM 2505.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I'm going to talk about the next 2 items kind of concurrently because they're both related to the same project. So just stop me if you have any questions about either. I'll just roll through both. We can make separate motions, but they're kind of interrelated as a lot of the CSM rezonings are. The applicant applied to reapportion this lot with 712 Newman Road. They intend Lot 2 to give 1.167 acres to Lot 1, and with some of the extra balance being allocated to public right-of-way. This process allows them to have a zoning map amendment with 702 Newman Road from RE to RL, so the property owner can construct a new detached house. The property is currently zoned RE, and the other parcel 4 is petitioning for that rezone to RL via ordinance 13-2025. So essentially, there's 2 evenly sized lots. They're giving one to the other to downsize one of them and increase the size of the other one. Family relationships, and I'll let the applicant speak to that if you have questions about underlying reasons why. But from a technical perspective, that brings them below the 1 acre minimum for an RE lot. So that's why they have to up zone from RE to RL for the now smaller lot on the south face. The application follows the land use element of the comp plan, neither the Mount Pleasant Bike Plan nor the Park and Open Space Plan recommend anything specific for the subject properties. For the fiscal impact, Robin included a kind of current analysis to show, because we are doing some redevelopment here, so the proposed new development does marginally better on its time for like public to private ratio, total revenue to cost ratio, and public liability repayment schedule. The conditions we have for the CSM include: 1, updating it to show some utility information; 2, updating the CSM to show some easements, which they provide us some draft easements that we'll look through, but we wanted to keep that condition on there just to make sure it's listed. 3, the applicant shall update the CSM to show the location of public sidewalks, provided the Plan Commission does not waive this requirement, and I'll get that to you in a sec. And then number 4, the applicant shall update the CSM to show some required street trees per the ordinance. The applicant requested that the Plan Commission for the land division or the redivision waive the requirement to install public sidewalks. They are not out there at this time. However, the code requires with any land division that that's a triggering event to put in sidewalks. That would really trigger the north properties requirement for sidewalks, that you'd be able to waive. The south property, in addition to having a land division requirement for sidewalks, also has a zoning one for sidewalks as a triggering event too. So you all don't have the ability to waive the zoning one, that's a Board of Appeals, but you can waive the north lot sidewalk requirement because it's a land division one that your authority is subject to. So they requested that. Really, the village staff, we like sidewalks, but in terms of getting a redeveloped parcel here, we certainly don't like to set standards, and we would, of course, be the recommended denial at the Board of Appeals, but reasonableness also states that this is not the hill that we particularly want to die on. We think it's more important for new subdivisions, large-scale development, or in areas that are particularly walkable. There is a section, once you get closer to the south, obviously providing walkability to the shopping center would be a nice benefit in the long run, but it's up to you whether you want to have this as the triggering event or kind of kick that can down the road. So you have the ability to waive the requirement for the sidewalk. We just wanted to lay it kind of eyes wide open that if you don't require it now, at some point we're going to have to solve that in the future, which is, a problem we'll deal with then. So I can answer any other technical questions you have about that. I can go through the zoning if you want. It's really the same staff report. They're down or up zoning from RE to RL for the now smaller lot on the south end. And that's the long and short of it. So if you have any questions for either of those applications, I can answer them now.
Any questions for Sam?
I'm just curious, sorry, seems like I can't quite stop. This parcel, I see that the property bounding it to the west is the big pond that we own, the big detention pond.
Yeah.
At one time, there was a project that was slated for somewhere in this area. I thought Korndorfer had talked about it, and it was gonna be an extension of Kinsey Avenue to the east, I guess you would say, from where it currently hits the road coming down from 20
Yep.
behind the mall. Was this property involved in that roadway at all?
No, it was not. That is a little bit south of them. There's probably at least one or two. There's the small narrow access to the pond, and then there's a couple other properties between them and where Kinsey would hit.
Okay, so we're still keeping, okay.
Yeah,
so that
maybe
still is-
500-ish feet north of where that projected road is shown to go.
Okay.
All right, there's no further questions?
I'll let Mr. Mayor decide on what he wants to do about the sidewalks.
Well, the interesting thing is obviously it only pertains to the south lot, which is now,
North lot,
I mean,
sorry.
the north.
Yep.
Oh, I think you said south lot.
South lot, because they're rebuilding the home, that would be a triggering event for sidewalks.
Right.
And so, well, you all could waive the requirement for both. Effectively for the south lot, there's a zoning requirement on top of it that you can't waive.
Oh,
So
I
you
understand.
can decide on sidewalks however you want for both parcels, but there's a different one that you can't waive. So the south lot, in effect, has a double triggering event.
Is there, we have an in lieu of putting sidewalks in, would that trigger that too? Could we do it that way or not?
It does not in this case. The in lieu of it's a good note and something that we're probably going to update the ordinance to address, but we really triggered the in lieu of fee towards fully rural cross sections out in the west or northern portions of the village. So currently Newman doesn't really comply as it is not a fully rural cross section. So they can't just pay us and move on. Otherwise, we would have just given you that as an option.
Okay.
But
Well,
we'll take
and
that as a
I
note.
know the area, obviously, so,
Yeah.
and it's, like I said, sidewalks to nowhere doesn't make sense either at times. You know, new developments, obviously, we want to make sure that we've got, you know, good sidewalks and walkability, but there's no place to walk here at this point.
Yeah, and there's, I think the difference for subdivision plats, when we come in, we also get the argument for like it's a sidewalk to nowhere, which we have some level of empathy for, but at least in the interior part of the new subdivision, you are providing some level of a network, right? It may not be as extensive as people want it, but you're able to walk around and do a mile loop or something in a lot of these newer subdivisions, right? Whereas here, it's truly just a couple 100 feet of sidewalk. So you don't have to, but it's your call.
Yeah. Well, I guess, if there's no other comments, I'd like to make a recommendation, approval of CSM 25-05 to the village board, subject to the conditions contained within the end notes, and then to waive the requirement for the sidewalk on the north lot.
Yeah. You could just say, like, where allowed under the land
Or-
division
yeah.
ordinances
And-
would be
and-
fine.
And I know that they'll go after the variance for the south one, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Ram?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, yeah, I want to clarify because I don't think I got that. So why are we waiving only the sidewalk on the north side but not on the south side? Are the other houses on the south side?
Because one is a
rezone.
rezone, and that's the one that requires further triggering. We can't approve or disapprove that.
Yeah, no, I like the exception on the north side.
Mhm.
But why not on the south side?
That's what he said.
Because
They're gonna have to go to
they're
zoning
going
board of
zoning.
appeals.
We don't have the right to do that.
The
Yeah.
first one is certified survey map. We have a right to do that. The next one, zoning, we don't. That's another authority.
Yep.
So we're giving them what we can give them.
Understand, but I am, okay, I
It's
get
just
it now.
procedural.
Under the
I was looking
RL,
at that,
under the,
under the,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Because
only the zoning board of appeals can fully waive it for the south lot.
Hope they do that. Okay.
Yeah, sure. And that's their prerogative. All
Another
right.
one of those things, we'll have to look at our ordinance one more time, Sam, if we have,
Yeah, we're always bringing
more
updates.
discrepancies over sidewalks.
Well, there's always those infill projects.
There are,
Right.
there are.
It's a tough balance, but we're thinking about it. We've discussed it internally. This project is a good trigger for some internal discussion. So at some point, we'll bring you a fix.
Good. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Good luck, you
Next.
guys.
That's, on this part, we still have one more thing. We've got your zoning to deal
Oh,
with
yes.
yet. So, next, if we have a motion on the zoning,
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend approval of ordinance 13-2025, 712 Newman Road zoning map amendment ZMA-25-08 as presented by the staff.
Second.
motion and a second there. Any further discussion? Any public comment? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. All right, next on the agenda then will be the recommendation of Krishna Grove Final Plat SFP 25-20002.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the applicant proposed a 78-lot subdivision plat on the west side of Lathrop Avenue. Plat contains internal local streets, extends Pennington and Farmington Lane along existing dedicated right-of-way to provide secondary access connections to the Checkanoff subdivision. Plan Commission and Village Board approved a preliminary and final plat for this parcel as the Savannah Grove subdivision in 2020 and 2021. The plat is unchanged from that approval, but they have to resubmit the final plat due to the lapse in approval time because it's older than a year from when they first submitted it. The applicant must adjust minor parts of the plat due to ordinance changes made since 2021, but the staff felt those were so minor, we felt comfortable with them coming back with just a final plat. Really, the street connections and everything stayed the same. It's just some updated things regarding street trees, as we'll get into. So the application follows the land use element of the multi-jurisdictional comp plan. Neither the bike plan nor the park and open space plan contain any recommendations for the subject property. Some provisions of the document run contrary to the zoning ordinances, and so same as our discussion before, just we'd like to call out making sure to work through those HOA docs with the potential applicant to ensure that lot regulations and stuff are noted accordingly. So we called it out there, and everyone is paying their fair share in the homeowners association. The fiscal impact statement, staff estimated the total project value at about $27 million, which is a conservative estimate at each lot being assessed at $350,000 on full build out. It's likely higher than that, as we've seen for some other home prices. This includes off-site extensions of Pennington and Farmington lanes, as well as Village Collector Lathrop Avenue, which is currently built out as a rural road. The property does not lie within any tax incremental district, and the developer has not asked for any public assistance. The estimated taxable value, net value per acre is $1.7 million. Total revenue to cost ratio is 2-to-1, and private to public ratio is 18-to-1. We have a couple conditions, I think 6 total. The subdivider shall update the plat to note the zoning as RL instead of RL1. Subdivider shall update the plat to include 20-foot vision triangles. Subdivider shall update the plat to show the construction of Pennington and Farmington Lane northwards. They're platted, but we just want to make sure the civil plans show that. That has been important for secondary fire access, so the whole 78 lots don't just have a single access point from Lathrop without any other access there. So we discussed that a few years ago, but we wanted to bring that up to your attention again. All that right-of-way is dedicated, so it's just using the existing right-of-way. Number 4, the subdivider shall update the plat to include concrete sidewalk or asphalt path on one side of all frontage streets and on one or both sides of all other streets within the land division or condo per section 74-8.8 sidewalks and pedestrian/recreational paths. 5, update the on-site civil engineering plans to show the installation of public street lamps at the corner of intersections, and update the civil engineering plans to show street trees. So, pretty standard cleanup items, except for the Farmington and Pennington extensions, which we just wanted to include because we thought they were important for traffic circulation and secondary emergency access.
Any questions for Sam?
I do have a question. Regarding the preliminary plat, it was approved in 2020. And I thought the statute read that after 3 years, if it wasn't acted on, it would have to come back. I guess I'm wondering why we're not, I recognize it's the same plat, but.
Yeah, our ordinances allow you to consider the final plat if you want. So you could just say, no, we want to start at the beginning, submit a preliminary plat. That's complete within your authority. We were okay with them going to final plat because they didn't modify a thing, and it had gone through the full approval process. Back in 2021, like the board had approved the final plat, they just didn't record it. So it was past the finish line. They were just tying up loose ends, and it fell through right before recording. So only for those reasons were we comfortable with that. Had they made larger changes to the plat or had it kind of died earlier in the process beforehand, we likely would have kicked them back to preliminary plat. So it's you or the board. You can say no, start at the beginning, but we felt in this case, it was worthy of your consideration to not do that, which we have done in the past for other odds and ends. Like we're bringing back something that hasn't changed. So
Right. The other thing you mentioned just now is you said they are not asking for public assistance?
They haven't yet, although.
Although
the-
your page 7 says that they are.
Yeah, I noticed that typo
that
as I
a
was
typo?
reading it. Yes. In the past, the village board has been open to a conversation for assisting with those northern connections because they are off-site connections. It's only like 200-300 feet of roadway, so it's a marginal cost, but obviously everything's tight. That's really a CDA and village board conversation, so there's nothing prohibiting them from coming back and asking it. I think your purview here at the Plan Commission is whether those roads should connect through or not. And if it's a money thing later on, then, the CDA and village board can consider if they want to help with that or not.
That's my fault. I wrote this one. So if I got a typo there, I'm sorry. But it might have been because of the confusion, because there was sort of a tentative agreement for the previous one for at least one of the connections. But we wanted to go back to the fact that we recommend that both connections just get done, because otherwise they're never.
They have to be
Right.
done.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's a mandate. The other questions I have really are in regard to the restrictive covenants. And I guess those are more questions for the developer per se. In other words, in reading through Sam's comments, on the restrictive covenants, I agreed completely that they're way too strict, that there is things that they're excluding here or mandating here that I'm very, I don't necessarily, we as a board don't necessarily have control over what they put in those documents, but it's kind of a note to self thing, if you're gonna, people today have a lot of stuff, and these are small lots and it's tight, I get that, but I would be very, very careful about how restrictive those are, number one. Number two, I believe in this case, they also said that they were deeding everything over to the HOA, all the ponds over to the HOA. And that's not gonna be acceptable to me as a trustee. They're gonna have to deed out the undivided interest of each lot to the owners of those lots. And that's where my question is, if I approve the final plat today and recommend it onto the board, with this declaration in a draft form, how am I gonna be sure that those things are taken care of? As I remember, I don't know that we're a signature on the restrictive covenants. The village isn't a signature, so you could take my advice and, they could not adhere to it, and they could record these restrictive covenants without us seeing them and seeing the changes, and then they are going to record restrictive covenants that say the ponds are gonna be owned by the HOA.
There's a specific ordinance that you can cite in a condition that could help you there. That is, the members of the association shall share equally the costs of maintaining, insuring, and operating common areas and facilities. So I think it's perfectly in line to say your condition of approval is that it's an undivided interest instead of deeded purely to the homeowners association as a condition of approval. I think the other ones where they're being overly strict, we don't have a backing ordinance to require it, so it's just kind of friendly advice. It's easier to sell a lot when people can put a shed in their backyard, but that's ultimately for them to decide. But if the
Especially with a 63-foot lot, you're gonna have a tougher time getting a 3-car garage on it, or, some of those things, so.
Exactly, and in our, we look at all the shed permits, and people like a garden shed, right? You can do other things to limit size or design of those in HOA docs, so.
Exactly.
To me, that's more friendly advice, but you do have the backing ordinance when we're looking in the subdivision regulations at homeowners associations to say, here's the way that we're comfortable that the common areas are maintained. So if you want to include that as an additional condition, I think it's within your purview.
Yeah, we have up and down approval on homeowners, the documents there, but it's basically like a dove released to the wild after it goes through. So you could require they be a certain way and filed a certain way at the time it's approved. However, if later on that homeowners association decides to amend through their operations and add it, can't do anything about that, but that's also significantly harder.
Well, then I'll also be looking in their documents for the amount of the percentage that it takes to amend the covenants, because that's typically 100%. To take a homeowner association and divest itself of a responsibility or create a responsibility takes 100% plus all the mortgages. The mortgage signatures have to sign off. So it's very complicated to do that, Robin. I wouldn't think that that would be something that would happen in perpetuity, but you're right, you never know. But it's very complicated to do that.
Oh, I know. That's why I'm comfortable sometimes suggesting that they be a certain way here, because it is a PITA in order to change it later on.
It
so.
is, it's very difficult, yes.
So I think that condition is fully appropriate for you.
Yeah.
Here at the village board, we can certainly add it before the village board packet goes out, just to ensure that the legal back end is caught in a way that the board and
I think it's
commission is
important because
comfortable
we're
with.
gonna sign off on it, and we're not gonna be signing off on that document. So that, you know, some villages do require that the village board president sign the restrictive covenants. You know, that's one way to ensure that we've seen it and that we agree with it. But in our case, we don't. So that's
Yeah.
something that's a little,
Can be a slippery slope for
It's-
other
it's a little
reasons.
slippery.
Put ourselves
yeah,
in
yeah.
a position of being liable for that thing.
Yeah, exactly. So
Also, I'm very curious to know, this has a big off-site component on Mr. Krieger's property. I don't know, Mark, if you guys do you have all your agreements in place with him, or? do-
Personally do not know if the current developer has had discussions with Ms. Krieger across the street here.
Is that you guys?
If we could have you just come up to the mic, name and address. Not a big, long speech, just a couple quick questions for you.
I'll answer them.
Hello, my name is Paxton Friedrich. I'm a realtor representing the buyer. These two over here are the realtor representing the seller. So, as far as Mr. Krieger, I know that previously, and I think they can speak to it, that there was an agreement. So the buyer is hoping to use that same agreement moving forward.
That'll be important to
Yeah.
being able to actually build it. And my other question was, who's building these? Is this a subdivision that's gonna be open to any builder coming in? And so, which is really a great feature. This is, you know, the one we just approved is gonna be all Lennar. Bear is gonna be all Bear and Horton. So this is really a great opportunity for the community now, for some of our smaller builders to come in and buy lots. And I would think they'd come in and probably wanna buy more than one. Again, the reason why you need to be very careful about the name of the subdivision as well as the restrictive covenants. Don't scare away the builders out there because they're like, oh, you know, just, there's too many restrictions. My buyers are not gonna go for that, so.
Yeah, I would agree. In conversations with my buyer, he definitely wants to use several buyers or builders because of the fact that it's easier to sell it.
They'll build it
essentially.
out
Yeah,
faster.
to build it out.
It will go very quickly, I would think,
Yeah.
actually, so.
All right,
Any other questions?
I don't believe so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ram?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for the staff, for Sam and Robin. Sam said these plats were previously approved in 2021, the final plat. So then I see that in the package that you provided, not only we have the restricted covenant, but we also have the developer agreement. So my question is, what's the reason to have that? Has anything been updated, changed, or is it the old one, or just for reference? Or what?
that's just the boilerplate development agreement that we have for the standard subdivision agreements that we put through. Essentially, the developers have to put up a letter of credit agreeing to install the public infrastructure and 2 public specs and all that. So they just had it in their application, so we included it, but it's a standard.
I guess my question was, because it has been previously approved, so then,
It was never fully executed, so because there's a new
okay,
owner, we gave it to you again.
okay, that
And
answers
we,
my question.
we use a different format today for
Yeah.
developers.
This is the
agreements than
updated
we did
version,
in
so.
21, but, yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
curious because, unless, I was looking for some
Are we approving the,
editing and I didn't see anything, so. okay,
are we
thank-
approving the developers agreement as part of this?
You can if you want, or you can say that you'd like to see it separately. It's up to you.
No, I would not want to approve that because we haven't had a chance to discuss that, to read that.
It is just the standard village boilerplate. There is nothing special about it. There's no incentives or anything else included with it, so. It is just the one that we have most, like settlement at hoods, like Jeff Badkey signs, this one, so.
Well, a little different, but, so.
Any further questions, comments? Looking for a motion?
So, Chairman, I will, Mr. President, Chairman
Whatever.
Davis Driver, I'm gonna make a recommendation that we approve the final plat, recommend to the village board approval of the Krishna Grove final plat SFP 25-0002, with the conditions as noted on page 8 of the summary and 9 of the summary, as well as adding that the restrictive covenants need to be amended to minimally require an undivided interest in the common areas be deeded over with each property sale to the lot owners, so that we ensure that those ponds will be managed by the homeowners vis-a-vis their HOA. I would also like to add that I would like to see the revised restrictive covenants as soon as possible for review and approval of just that item.
Prior to.
Prior to, if we could, well, it's gonna go to the board Monday night.
Yep.
So that's probably a stretch, but I think we'd like to see them again. I'm not sure how we can regulate that. And also
yeah.
the developers agreement. Maybe I can tie it into the developers agreement, because we still would like to see the final developers agreement.
I don't think we, as the plan commission, need to see the developers agreement.
Okay, so that's a different issue. Okay, so that's a board issue. Okay.
Yeah, and again, the developer's agreement is just a boilerplate. So if you'd like any specific changes, I would certainly want to know that before the village board meeting on Monday. But other than that, it's kind of,
Yeah.
is what it is.
I guess
like,
I just want to see how it's going to fill in, but that's okay. Again, my main concern is the restrictive covenants and making sure that those changes are made regarding the undivided interest in the common areas being deeded to the property, each lot owner with its sale. And then again, I advise them to take a look at the restrictive covenants and think about those.
I will put together a draft, obviously for the village board, to include that condition, and if we need to modify the language at village board on Monday, we can do it further.
All right.
Okay, so that's a motion and
Second.
a second. Any other questions or comments? Any public comment? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. And as you said, this goes Monday
Monday.
to the village board for the final stamp. All right, next, staff reports. Planner Robin.
Oh, we got one more.
One more.
I'm sorry. Recommendation of Independence Road Certified Survey Maps, CSM 2506.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the applicant applied to divide the property into 2 lots. They intend lots 1 and 2 to hold the villas at Coach Hills condominiums, which the village board approved in October 2024. The map also dedicates 66 feet to the public for an extension of Independence Road westwards from its current terminus to the west property line. The village staff recommend approval. We've seen the condo plat before, so this is really just the CSM to get the roadway dedicated and finish up its buildability, I guess. The estimated net value per acre is $1.348 million, and the project is expected to generate net revenue of approximately $27,000 per year, accounting for public infrastructure and service costs for the public right-of-way and the proposed 21 residential units. With that, we only have one condition, and that is, 1, the applicant shall update the CSM to show the minimum lot area required by the zoning district in which the land division is located, and revise the district name to RL, which is just an update because we updated the name of the zones between last year and this year. Everything else, it's condo platted, and it it's all good to go. So it's just kind of a final cleanup item.
Okay. Everybody good with it? Nancy, any questions?
Well, I'm just confused as to why this wasn't done before they did all the development of, why is it coming to be split the lots now?
We had a draft one done, and it just never got recorded, and then some deadlines passed, so they just resubmitted to get it done in a timely manner.
Right, yeah, because they're busy out there.
Yes.
Yeah. So it is. Yep, I would say it's as much of a cleanup as something can be. Yeah. The development agreement is signed and everything else. We just wanted to make sure that we were approving the CSM within the ordinance time limits. So this one kind of required a secondary review.
All right. And if there's no further questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend Independence Road CSM, approval of the Independence Road certified map CSM-25-06 as presented.
Second.
Motion a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Chairman, I'll be recusing myself from that vote.
Understand. Motion carries. All right, next, Robin.
He's trying to mess me up
You didn't want to talk about yourself?
with me. He was messing with my head. I was sitting here about to explode.
Why? It doesn't make sense.
Because I can't speak to it.
I know.
And the reason is the market and this other.
Okay, so I'm just gonna do a little explainer, and this is something that I proposed to Sam that I do, and this is new, but I think it's good. I'm giving you guys homework. So I kind of drew up some thoughts about master planning, and we've talked about this before, master planning for local areas 16 and 17. And got any wild idea on guessing what local area 16 and 17 is? It's Braun Road. We need to, at some point, we will be forced to update the transportation element of the Braun Road area, even just to accommodate the proposals that are coming in. I suggest we get ahead of that, and this report is a part of that. We won't be discussing this report today because I want you to take it home and digest it, and then any questions, offer it to me or Sam. I'm going to be out of the country for the next 10 days starting tomorrow, so Sam for the next 10 days, but then after that. And I also give a disclaimer that 99% of this is derivative from our ordinance as they exist now. So it may be shocking given what you're like, okay, yeah, it's a bunch of farm fields, but it's just basically extending out, okay, road networks that sort of have the block length and structure of the existing subdivision, and reasons thereof. And finally, the reason why I would suggest that we do this is that if we want anything extra, like if we want traffic calming, to make the neighbors happier, if we want additional stormwater infrastructure because all the recent flooding and stuff like that, putting it in the comp plan will allow us to enforce that even when the engineering aspect of what we all do doesn't, what they call a warrant, meaning that this warrants that improvement or this has enough traffic to get it. And well, if we put it in the comp plan, it says, well, we don't really necessarily care if it warrants that or not. We want it for these reasons that aren't necessarily related. So that is why we are going to the comp plan. So other than that, it's mostly just a road network, deleting stuff that's on the comp plan road network from long ago, like such as the funny one is basically a bridge across the Pike River, and train tracks in the middle of Highway 11 and Braun Road, which I just looked at and I laughed because that's absolutely impossible. Like, you're gonna hundreds of millions of dollars to go over those for absolutely like nothing there. So So we deleted some of those. Obviously, not everything is final. I really want you guys to contact us with any questions, thoughts, concerns, and then we can start the process of the official process, which is we come back to you with an official comp plan update. Then you guys go, looks good, we set it for a public hearing. Then in 30 days after that, the public gets to digest it and then come before the board and talks about it. And that's before you or the village board discuss it substantively. You know what I meant. So I've talked too much for something that I said that there was going to be no discussion on, but I will be handing this out. And then I do this at the meeting because this is a public document. And, you know, if anybody wants access to it, you can certainly get the report, but it's a very preliminary thing. Sam approved the general maps and ideas of everything, but he had not to this point gone through, for time reasons, and edited out all my uses of passive voice or, you know, misplaced code references or so on and so forth. So if you see an email from Sam to be like disregard line 3 on page 8, that could be coming on sometime soon. But generally, because it is for you guys to think on and a discussion point, it's not as strict of a standard as before. So any questions about that general process?
Just, I don't have a question, more of a statement. I would hope that this is a really important study, hugely important to our community. And I would hope that when we do get to the point where we're gonna do the public hearings or public meetings, that we really reach out to the people we've been seeing at these last meetings and make sure we're not just 300 feet off of Brown Road. Please, let's make a big effort to make sure that we do get public engagement and we don't have people coming in saying we weren't notified or we didn't know. I just hope that we make a big effort on that.
Absolutely, and that's
It's important to Sturtevant too.
Yeah, and that's a part of the reason that we've taken this kind of first time step and kind of giving you guys
I applaud that.
a month to digest it and be a filter. And if you're like, no, that's not going to work, or that seems good or interesting or whatnot, and so that gives it an additional level of scrutiny. So we're not coming to you with a proposal blind. So I think that's, and the reason why is because it's so important and we have so many proposals coming forth. Additionally, if these start to go forward, we would hold those subdivision plats and other developments in the area to the recommendations. And it has the force of it's not like the force of law, but if the village board decides, no, we're not approving this until you meet the comp plan, they definitely can do that.
Right. Well, I think that's important for those developers, particularly Bear, because I think they're gonna move forward very quickly, and we have to know what they're designing to on Brown Road. The other one I'm not thinking is gonna be as fast, but I think this is such an important study.
Yeah.
And I just want to be absolutely clear. This is regarding the transportation element of the comprehensive plan only. This is not reopening any of the land use decisions or anything else. So we're just talking where are roads going. The base map here is us taking the land division ordinances, reading them and just applying them to a blank map. And then, as Robin said, eliminating some of the roads that go directly through like an environmental corridor or something. So this is this is very high level of us just applying the ordinances to the map. That's why we wanted multiple stages of feedback. So after you all have had time to digest it, do whatever public outreach that you want to do, we will also do those things as we go through this process, to your point, Trustee Washburn. So this is the very start.
I love it.
No neighbors have missed the boat or anything. This is day one.
And to go on that, I mean, we don't put the land use element back up for debate in this, but I do mention it and then defend it and say it complies, and also like have a staff opinion that in 2025 this still makes sense, because that's what you should do. You should be like, does this make sense? We don't blindly go forward until the night. So
I think it's brilliant. I'm glad we're doing it. We desperately need it with all the applications at the board level for sure, so
Yeah.
thank you. Thank
Last-
you for being proactive.
lastly, the most recent update to the residential zoning with the RN district, and as far as requiring each building to be on their individual lot, definitely warrants having something like this on there. So we're just trying to get rid of the big seas of parking lots and have more of what everybody would recognize as a traditional neighborhood. So, all right, with that, I'm going to pass these out and see you guys, most of you guys, next month.
Just a quick question in regards to this. Is there something with that, there's, anybody done any traffic analysis based on our plans to date as far as our zoning?
That could be certainly a part of this process. And I, especially when I'm considering, when I'm talking about like, there's particular intersections that would warrant signalization or controlled intersections, and you'll see why I mentioned that.
Roundabouts and things like that. I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
Because we've got zoning around it, but what does that mean until somebody comes in with these big projects? You go, well, you wait till that and you may be too late. You know?
Yeah, so I do mention that, so.
While Robin is passing that out, unless you have any other questions about this. A note, there we go, to thank Chairman Davis Driver for his service to this commission over the last, 27 years, I believe. The village board will be issuing a proclamation on Monday, thanking him officially for his service on behalf of the village, but I just wanted to take this time at the staff level to really thank him. Davis has gone to planning conferences with us. He was one of the dedicated staff members on the zoning code rewrite. And he's been really personally supportive of both Robin and I since we've been at the village over the last 10 years. So we really appreciate you from a staff level. We're going to miss you, and we thank you for all your service.
Thank you. Likewise.
Here, here.
Thank you.
All right.
Sam, I'm gonna follow up on that. First of all, 10 years. It's like, wow, really? Oh my God, the kids are growing up. I mentioned this before the meeting, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna make it to the village board meeting Monday night. I've asked to be excused from that as I have another commitment, but one of the things that when I learned that Davis was actually going to retire and move to his dream home out of state and enjoy the rest of his life the way we all would like to, it made me think back to when I started working with I live in the village, obviously, but when I started working a lot in the village as a land developer for another private builder, and the year that I started was 1998. And that happens to be the year that Davis reminded me was the year he joined the Plan Commission. And we would meet over in the town hall over at Highway 31 and 11, where the Pick and Save now is. And we met around the table, and there were no such things as PDFs or emails. And we sat and we had plans out to scale on the table. And I just remember that time as learning so much. And also at that time, I'm going to honor Frank Risler, our esteemed Plan Commission member, as Frank at that time was the zoning administrator for the county. And at the time we were a town, so everything that we did at the town level for a development, we had to go through the Racine County Planning and Development Office. And Frank was the lead on that for us. So and Frank, I know, has longer history even than 1998, but I'm not going to make him. I'm not going to make him confess up to that. But I think that it shows what really tremendous brain trust we have on this Plan Commission. We're going to miss you tremendously, Davis, and thank you for all you've done.
There's not a whole lot more I can add to that, but I mean, in my almost, 8+ years, almost 10, that I've been here, I can't imagine, a better Plan Commission chair. I really respect how you, approach every situation with an even keel, and use judgment and try to let everybody have a say. You're gonna leave some big shoes to fill. And I'm just really happy for you that you get to move on to greener pastures, and I'm going to be left here sad. But and as far as a career, it was great that I had a year of seeing how a plan commission shouldn't work, not in this state, and then have almost 9 years of seeing under your stewardship how it should. And there's no other plan commissioner I can imagine having a beer with at a conference. So thank you so much for your dedication here in the room and then outside. So thanks, and best travels.
Thank you. And I just want to say that I made two pretty good decisions, and that was the hiring of Sam and Robin. I was involved in the hiring. It wasn't my final, but I was totally supportive then, as I am now. So, thank you.
Well, thanks. And
all of you, thank you for your support and confidence.
Yeah, and I just to say a few words too. We've been together 16 years now on the Plan Commission, and your guidance has always been wonderful, so I appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to add just a quick, I don't have history of like 20, 15 years, but from the day one I became a trustee, I was appointed to the Planning Commission, and under your leadership, like Robin said, I cannot imagine any better planning commission. You have provided the leadership this body needed, this community needed. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
It's been an honor and pleasure to get to know you, to meet you, and to learn from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So with that, I have one final request for motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Lonnie, Mr. Lonnie.